Today's daf is daf Yud Beis, Sunday, the fourth day of Chanukah. We're beginning from Yud Aleph and Beis on the bottom. We're continuing to talk about Kiddush HaChodesh and Iber HaShana, creating an extra month, an additional month, making a leap year. I already told you there's a machlekes. Which month is that extra month? Is it the second Adar or is it the first Adar? And in halacha, we find it very conflicting and a big conundrum. Why, when it comes to Bar Mitzvah, we rule one way, and when it comes to Yartzeit, we rule another. Tanur Rabbanan, we learned. Ein ma'abri nesashana, you do not make a leap year b'shnei oven in a hunger year for obvious reasons, because if you make a leap year, so the new crop, even if it'll be ready, whatever it is, you got to wait until the second day of Pesach before you can eat it, and you're prolonging the agony. Tanya, in fact, there's a big machlekes or shreinim. We're talking about regardless of what the factor is, or only if certain factors are there that we don't extend, but if other factors are there, we do. But Tanya, we learned. Rebbe says, the Ish Bo Mebal Shalisha. A person came from the town of Shalisha, Vayov Elisha Lakim, and he brought to Elisha, the Navi, Lechem Bikurim, he brought him bread, Bikurim, the first crop, Esrim Lechem Sa'idim, 20 loaves of barley. Why only barley? I mean, usually you bring a premium product, which is like wheat. He brought barley. Why? Because that grew the quickest. And as Gemara will explain, that region of Baal Shalisha, it grew the area that grew the earliest in Eretz Yisrael. And all he had was one particular species. He couldn't give many of the others. Seven. He couldn't give any of the other ones because they weren't ripe yet. And yet Elisha did not make a leap year. Obviously, it was a year of famine. There is no other region that grows quicker than Yeshem and Baal Shalisha, that grows earlier than Baal Shalisha. All we have is one species of grains that were ripe, and that's all. You say it's wheat, so it was barley. Maybe this talking about early means early before the Omer, and therefore by the time the Omer came along, it would have been other species ready as well. We see from here, 10 la'am the yochli. Elisha said, distribute this so that people can eat it. Obviously, the barley was brought to them after the second day of Pesach, so they're ready to eat it. From here we learn now, that year would have been suitable to make a leap year, because look how little it grew. Why didn't he make it a leap year? It was a hunger year. And everyone's running the threshing floor to eat, and therefore he had no right to prolong their agony. So we continue now. We learned, you should not decide to determine and announce a leap year prior to Rosh Hashanah, because people eventually will forget. And if it is a leap year, and the biggest problem will be is that they're going to treat the 13th month as if it's Nisan, and the following month they'll think it's Iyar, when in fact the following month is actually Nisan, and they're going to eat chametz on Pesach. In fact, if we defied our instructions, it is not a leap year, and there's nothing happened, because people will forget and we're worried. When you have no choice, but if you have no choice, you're allowed to create a leap year right after Rosh Hashanah. Generally, we shouldn't do it till other, because people forget even then. But if you have no choice, you can do it right then. What do you mean you have no choice? For example, the government decreed we don't want you to make leap years. We know that, for example, Chanukah, Chashmonai, Ches is Chodesh. One of the things that separate us from all the nations of the world is that we follow the lunar calendar. And therefore Chodesh and Iber Shana to marry, in fact, to marry up the two, the Chodesh and the Shana and the solar year, is something that they found as fundamental to Yiddishkeit, and they try to prevent us. So if they, for example, try to stop us from getting together, then if we can get together earlier, we can do it earlier, and we have no choice, and we can do it. Nevertheless, even though that they forced us to come to a conclusion earlier, nevertheless, which month is the extra month? We will never make another month an extra month, only the month of Adar. And how do you know the month of Adar? So Teshuvah says, because it says in the Megillah, l'chodesh neimas asar hu chodesh Adar. The 12th month has to be Adar. If you're going to make two cheshvens, then 12th month won't be Adar. Always Adar is a 12th month. So if you add a month, it's a 13th month. Ain is not so. So in fact, from this case, it seems that the 13th month is the additional month. Saying about Ain, it's not so. Others say no, that the 13th month is actually the 12th month. That means the extra Adar, the 12th, because the natural Adar has to go into Nisan. It can be connected to Nisan. So therefore, it's the 12th month that is the extra. That's why Purim is then. Others say no, Purim should have been the 12th month. The 13th month is extra. It's only because we want to make the Smichas Gula Legula, we want to bring the month of Nisan, which is the month of redemption, to Purim. So it doesn't prove anything. Saying about it further, it's not so. In the times of Rava, there was under strict rules, and they couldn't make leap years and all that. So they sent a message in a very cryptic way. So they said, Zug ba Merekes, a pair came from the city of Merekes, which is another name for Tiberia. And either an eagle grabbed them, which is a reference to the Goyim, or if not an eagle, it's talking about rain. They got held up by rain. Ubiyadam devarim and Nasrulus, they have in the things that were created in Luz, which we know is talking about the Tchelas, the blue wool, because that was made in the city of Luz. Umani Tchelas. And Beschus Rachmim, Uveschusam, and the schus of the Rachmim, and the schus also of the leadership is Yotzu Bisholem, they came out peaceful. The Amusa Yereche Nichshan, and then through the assistance of those who descendants from Nachshon, which are the leader, Nachshon and another, Sheva Yehuda, these are the same. Bikshul Lekvaya Nitziv Echad. So they wanted to make then an extra month. So the word Netziv, which is a leader, is a reference to a month. The Gemara will soon say how in the world Netziv is a reference or a cryptic way of saying a month. And this Adomi refused to allow them to go ahead. They nevertheless gathered together in secret. When did they make this meeting, this conference took place in the month that Aaron passed away. In fact, Aaron, which is it's the only month, it's the only Misa that the Torah actually gives us a date as to when it happened. So we see clearly from here that you said you cannot me'abed the year, declare a new month till after, other b'di'evet shasal chak only after Tishrei. He did a month of Av, way before. The calculations were made enough, but they didn't reveal it until after Tishrei. My mashman you said Netziv, and you refer to a month. It says, where do we find association between a leader, an officer, and a month? L'shleimish, name us and Yisrael. He had 12 different officers in Eden, and each one was in charge for another month. And each one was in charge for 1 month. So Netziv is a cryptic way of saying a month. Look, see what he's talking about. It says Netziv Echad Asher Ba'ar. It says he had a leader over someone who oversaw everyone else. And there's one Netziv, so L'chei Netziv stands for a year, not just a month. That one says Amunah al Kulam. It had nothing to do with time. It was just a Mamunah under 12, but there were 12 Netzivim, so 12 months. He was a 13th month. So each Netziv represented a month. We do not make a leap year, not from 1 year to the next. Now, what do you mean not from 1 year to the next? So Rashi learns it means that you don't make this year, if you realize that next year we're going to have to make a leap year, don't make this year the leap year, and therefore next year we don't have to make it. Wait till next year. Or others say the pshat is don't sit today and make calculations about next year we'll need a leap year because things can always change. Is ein ma'abed shana loy mishana l'chav, not 1 year to the next, v'loy shalosh shanim zu achazu, and not fix 3 years one after another. What do you mean not fix 3 years one after another? So Rashi has 2 pshatim, and the Rishonim have an argument which pshat is right. But Rashi, one pshat is you don't declare 3 years consecutive years to be a leap year, because then what will happen is that Nisan will be pushed off into the summer. Tosha has a problem with that because even 2 consecutive leap years would be a problem. But so Tosha and others it means making calculations. Don't calculate 3 years in a row and then work out, say this year will be a leap year, and then sit down today and work out that 2 years from now will be a leap year, and then 2 years from now again will be a leap year. You don't do that. Amar Rav Shimon Ma'aseh, Rabbi Akiva, the story of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon argued. He said there was a story. Rabbi Akiva was incarcerated. We know from Gemara Brachas at the end that Rabbi Akiva generally have to only make a leap year in Eretz Yisrael. They decide. And once Rabbi Akiva was in Chutz La'aretz, and they went to him because there was nobody equal to Rabbi Akiva. So obviously he was very heavily involved in deciding leap years. And when he was in jail, they went to him to help determine when's a leap year. The Ibn Shalosh Shanis and he was Ma'abed 3 years one after another. So either it was 3 consecutive years, or he worked out then 3 different years that don't have to make it. That's a proof. They sat down and they did not do 3 consecutive years. It was 3 different years. Or the second shot, they calculated which 3 years they needed, but then when those years came along, they sat down again and reconsidered, and then they determined it then. We learned. We don't make a leap year when it causes discomfort. Like the Shvi is not in the year Shemitah. The labor Motzei Shvi is not in the year after, not the year Shemitah because you're prolonging the time we cannot plant, and nor the year after Shemitah because we have to wait until the second day of Pesach before we can benefit from what we planted. And why prolong the pain? Amos again Labas was the best time. Eder Shvi is given an extra month prior to Shemitah to be ready and everything else. On the contrary, that's what they used to do. The house of Gamliel was Ma'aber Motzei Shvius. And they weren't concerned at all about the fact that you have to wait an extra month because they hold you can bring in produce from Chutz La'aretz. So therefore, there's not an issue. As the Gemara explains, the basis of this argument is whether you can import from overseas. It's not we learned, you don't bring it from Chutz La'aretz. You don't bring it from Chutz La'aretz. But I was saying that other rabbis said you could. What's the machlekes? Why yes, why no? It's to do with the laws of Tumah. We know that the afar, the sand for Chutz La'aretz is coming with the Rabbanon, and therefore one opinion says we're concerned about it if we don't import from Chutz La'aretz, and that's why we don't make a leap year on the 8th year because we want to be able to eat from the new crop as soon as possible. We don't want to rely on imports. The other opinion says there's nothing wrong. We're not worried about Grishain. Clean it up. We're not worried about it. Now there's a machlekes Rashi takes us here. What exactly we worried about the sand? According to Rashi, we worried about the sand we brought in, sitting in your house. It'll be an oil. Everything that's in all the contents in that house will become tummy. Taisha says no, that gushain is not metame tumas oil, but rather gushain, the sand, is only metame if you touch it or mago masa. That's what the thing is. Says the more further. That's what we learned. If the reason why most people are tummy, that's why you want to delay. Let's say Pesach, we don't do that. We don't delay it at all. And Abuda says ma'abrin, but we'll delay. Now, what do you mean? We're talking about the month of Adar. There's plenty ample time to become Torah. Why would you delay Pesach? Because the tummy they cannot bring Korban Pesach. So Rashi gives us a couple of scenarios. One is that the Nasi B'Yisrael is very, very sick, and there's a mitzvah to go ahead and to attend the funeral of the Nasi, and there's a chashash that he might pass away the day before Pesach. And if he doesn't, everybody becomes tummy, there won't be any more time, and you need 7 days to come out of that tumah. So there won't be enough time for everyone to become Torah. Others have a problem with that because there's no chiyuv for Eden from all over Eretz Yisrael to come and attend the funerals. Only those who live in Yerushalayim have to come and attend. When it comes Pesach, many more Eden will come into Yerushalayim, and therefore they'll be outnumbered. The majority of the people will be tired. Okay, so therefore the Rashi gives another shot. Now, what happens? There are many people tummy generally, but they ran out of the ash of the paraduma, which must be talking about the second base of Mikdash, because the first base of Mikdash had ample ashes. And, they had one paraduma, plenty. It was the second base of Mikdash that they ran out of paraduma, and it takes a while. They knew it'll take a while till they find the paraduma, the famous story of the Sinner, till they find the paraduma and they turn into ashes, and therefore they want to give themselves extra time, an extra month. They have an argument whether you ma'abed the year for Tumah or not. We'll soon see what the base of that argument is, and the Gemara will explain later the idea that if majority of the Yidden are Tumah, you're still permitted to bring a carbon. Is that because we suspend the laws of Tumah? Tumah hutra b'tzibur, we have more psachim. We suspend all the laws of Tumah, and therefore there's no problem whatsoever to rely on that. Or is it duchuya? That means that you have no choice. We repel, we push away the problem of Tumah and go ahead. But if you have a choice, then ideally you should make sure that nobody's tummy, as we'll soon see. Rabbi Yehuda says, remember, he's the one who said that you're ma'abed the year, which means that that we don't want you to rely on the laws of Tumah. Rabbi Yehuda said, Chizkiah, the king of Yehuda, that he had a father, a Rosh called Achaz. And seen that his father put Avodah Zarah everywhere, and Avodah Zarah makes one tummy. And because Avodah Zarah makes one tummy, everybody became tummy. And when he took over, he got everyone to do tshuva, and therefore you have to go and get the ash of paraduma. Because it seems that, according to this opinion at least, that Tumah Avodah Zarah is a tumah of 7 days, not just a tumah sheretz, like it seems from Gemara Chul and other places, but actually a tumah of Avodah Zarah. Traces brings a very interesting Yerushalmi that they found the skull of Avona Hayevusi underneath the Mizbeach, and in the base of Mikdash, the entire base of Mikdash was Tameh. And that's the problem. The problem, however, with that is in our Gemara in Avodah Zarah, it says that Avona Hayevusi was a goy. And by a goy, we say kibre akum eina metame. The oil, a goy is only tameh if you touch it or if you lift it, but not if you find yourself in the same room. But and Reb Shimon Agas, he says it's metame. But others want to say that Yerushalmi holds that Avona Hayevusi actually converted. And the Yavani was actually converted, like some of the first Tanakh. He became a Yid toward the end of his life, and therefore he was Matamid the Beis Hamikdash. But either way, it became Tamid. So therefore, Chizkiah Melech Yehuda decided to make a leap year, and then he regretted it. He then went ahead and he regretted it, and he asked Hashem to forgive him, atone him for that sin. Where do you see that he regretted it? The Chsiv says, there was such a multitude of people. Rabbis, most of them were from Ephraim and Menashe, Yisachar and Zvulun, and Loi Hitaru. They did not become Toy. What happened that year was they ate the current Pesach, not the way he meant. In other words, he made a leap year, but he shouldn't have. So they all ate the current Pesach the next month, which was the wrong time. And why did he make it a leap year? Because of Tumah. And it was a mistake. What exactly was the mistake? We'll soon see in the Gemara. Ki yispal Chizkiah and Chizkiah daven on them the following. And he said, Hashem HaTayv. He said, the good Eibishter, Yechaper Ba'at. Please atone and forgive us what we did. That's the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says, no. It's nothing to do with Tumah. He didn't regret Tumah. Even if now Tumah Ibru better, he did the right thing by Tumah. Because Tumah the Chuya, and therefore it's better, since it's only when you have no choice. So the Chatzili say, you know what, let's make Pesach another month and we'll all be tired. So he did the right thing. So you know why he asked for forgiveness? And why does forgiveness? You're not supposed to make a leap year only in the month of Abed. Who Ibn Nissen ben Nissen. And it sounds like from the Gemara here that after they declared already that Rosh Chodesh should be Rosh Chodesh Nissen, he changed his mind. He said, Bezin, let's say that it's Rosh Chodesh Adar. That was the mistake he made. Rab Shimon ben Yehuda, he has a third opinion. What was the mistake? Rab Shimon, he convinced everyone to do Pesach Sheni, and that year he shouldn't have done it. What exactly happened there? The mother will explain. So first, let's analyze the first shot. You said, Yehuda said that you make a leap year. Why would he say make a leap year? Why would he encourage make a leap year? Because he didn't want to rely on Tumah Hutra B'Tzibur, because he owed Tumah Duchuya B'Tzibur. And because it's only Duchuya, it's only when you have no choice, so let's make Pesach year. Alma Isra Yehuda Tumah Duchuya B'Tzibur. But Tanya, we learned tzitz. The tzitz that the Kohen Gadol used to wear on his head, and the role of the tzitz was, this is what you have between the tefillin and the skull, the role of the tzitz was, the tzitz was on his forehead, and the role of the tzitz was that if there's any tumah, it atones for the tumah. Not so much to eat it, but more to that you could bring the carbon. When exactly does the tzitz have to be on the head? Machlekes Rashi and the Rambam. Rashi says it clearly at the time when the tumah happened, the tzitz should have been on the head of the Kohen Gadol, so therefore it removes it. And according to the Rambam, it's the time when you bring the carbon. If the tzitz is on the head, it enables the carbon to be brought. Anyway, Batanya, the Mitzvah Chinuch on it. Batanya, we learned tzitz. Whether the Kohen Gadol was wearing or not, it always atones. The fact that the tzitz exists is sufficient to atone. Divrei Rab Shimon, these are the words of Rab Shimon. Rab Yehuda says, only while the Kohen Gadol is wearing it is a function and is effective. If it's not on his forehead, it is not effective. Rab Shimon said, what are you talking about? What about Yom Kippur? On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol didn't always wear his clothes. He had to wear the white clothes as well. When he went to Kohen Kedoshim, and then asked a question, he said, "Oh, what about Yom Kippur?" He said, Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur he goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and he does not wear the tzitz. And if a tumah occurs at that time, it will still be effective. And it is effective. Doesn't that prove that you don't need to be wearing it on your head? Only the Yom Kippur is the exception. If it becomes tameh, since Tumah Hutra B'Tzibur and everyone is there, every avodah, when do we say that you need the tzitz if it's an individual? But if it's a communal thing, and Yom Kippur, everything is communal, Tumah Hutra B'Tzibur, therefore you don't need the tzitz. So we see that Yehuda clearly holds that Tumah is Hutra B'Tzibur. And so therefore it's not a problem at all about, what do you call it? So in other words, why does he say? So we start out saying that Rabbi Yehuda holds Tumah. So we ask the question: You started off saying Abiyuda holds Tumah is the Chuya B'tzibur. That's why I said let's wait, make a leap year. And in this story here, this argument of Shimei clearly holds Tumah Hutra B'tzibur. That's why Yom Kippur is different. Now Tosha already says Tzibur does not mean communal versus private. Tzibur, Korban Pesach is not Tzibur, even though it's, as the Rogachover discussed in Barichas and the Rebbe Babash Rebbe in the Sichas, a Korban Pesach has certain aspects similar to Korban Tzibur because everyone has to bring it and so on, and certain aspects of the individual because it's only individuals. You have to be appointed on it, and you have to be invited to be part of the Korban, sort of in between. But Tosha said the definition of Korban Tzibur means so anything that has a fixed time. Tumah anything that have a fixed time as an individual, you bring it whenever you decide to bring it, then you need the tzitz to be maratza. But bottom line is that Yehuda says that you're ma'abed for tumah. In other words, he wants to bring it to pay a pesach. Everyone is tired. That means tumah duchuya. And here we clearly see tumah hutra. You want to ask back, but time may teach legal. That's a question. He contradicts himself. And he asks Rachmim. Yehuda says. And why did he ask Rachman? Because really, Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, and this way Chizkiah had no need to postpone it another month, because Tumah Hutra he could have brought the first Pesach. And Rabbi Yehuda is the very same author who says that he should delay another month. What's going on here? He brings a story to contradict himself. Obviously, we have to amend the words of Rabbi Yehuda, and goes as follows. Some words are missing. This is what you say. You're not ma'abed for tumah. The first time to hold, but the evidence mu'uber. And Rabbi Yehuda says, it's not even mu'uber because there's no need for it. Because since tumah hutra b'tzibur, why would you add another month? For what purpose? And when Rabbi Yehuda brings the story of Chizkiah to prove that tumah hutra b'tzibur, and Chizkiah realized he made a mistake for adding another month, and he asked for forgiveness. Says so Rab Shimon says Rab Shimon says that if they did it because of Tumah, it would have been a valid thing. That's not why he asked for forgiveness. Rather, he had forgiven because of the month of Nisan, but he changed it to other. So isn't that the same view as Tanakama? Tanakama, who said that what? That if you don't have to be ma'aber. He says also the same thing on my Rabbah. In other words, Tanakama said you should make an extra month, and Rav Shimon said make an extra month. The difference is the difference lechatchila. The Tanak, whether the lechatchila you should make another month or not. Tanya we learned lechatchila. That Tanakama lechatchila don't make an additional month, but the evidence all right, but don't make an additional month. You don't make it. And Rav Shimon says ma'ab even lechatchila you can ma'ab because it's tumah tchuya. There's nothing wrong with being ma'ab. Why the Chizkiah asked forgiveness if he's allowed to add an extra month because Tumah Tchuya and Rab Shimon holding Lechatchila you're allowed to, you should give the extra month. Not that kind of comment said Lechatchila you don't have to because even though it's only Tchuya, but the fact is that you can bring it, but the evidence all right. And Rab Shimon said Lechatchila you make an extra month. So why did Chizkiah ask for forgiveness? Because only during the month of Adar Ma'abed, but who even Nisan b'Nisan, and when would he declare new Adar when it was the Chaysh Nisan already? We said, he did, but less than the how could he have done it? In the moment he said, listen, once it's this, you can't do anymore. Says what happened was it wasn't this yet. He made a mistake with Shmuel. Shmuel said, the 30th day of Adar, if Bezin did not declare it yet, listen, we had a big machlekes before. If it's the 30th day, do you declare it? You don't even bother declaring it. It's only the 31st. He didn't declare it yet, listen, but it was suitable. It could have been this. And he decided then to make it other. And that Shmuel's din is that even though you didn't declare this, if you could have made this, you shouldn't declare that day other anymore. And that was Chizkiah's mistake. He thought we didn't make it this yet, I can call it other. He made another sheni. Then he realized he made a mistake. He thought Chizkiah thought that Ro is not good enough. It's not this yet, I can still do it. We actually learned you don't declare other sheni on the 30th day of other hoyel v'roel because why? Because you could already call this, and so you shouldn't call it other. So the matter further, Reb Shimon says to Reb Shimon, but the problem was he encouraged everybody to move to Pesach Sheni. So what was the mistake? Why did he do that in the first place? And then why did he realize he made an error in judgment? Last is Pesach Sheni. He encouraged everyone to do Pesach Sheni. What's going on here? What actually happened here? This is what happened. There is a machlekes in the Gemara Psachim Ketzolin whether women are chayiv to bring a korban pesach, or only they have reshus, they can bring a korban pesach. And the difference is whether we count them in the numbers. We know that tuma hutra b'tzibur or tchui b'tzibur. The majority of the people are tamei. We don't wait till Pesach Sheni. We do Pesach Rishon. There's only an argument whether hutra there's no laws of tuma at all, or whether it's the chuya. But either way, you do it Pesach Rishon. Now, what happens if the men were less than half? But if you add the women, they become more than half that were tamei. What happens then? So if you add them, then the majority of tamei you do straight and then and there. But if you don't add the women because they only have it as shus, they don't have any carbon, then it's only a miyut, and then you push it off to Pesach Sheni. And that was the basis of Chizkiyahu's to and fro, as the Gemara will explain. You saw machzah tamei, machzah half and half. It tastes like dafka half and half. You can even say a little bit less than half of men were tamei. But what happened was the women. So the men were a bit more tamei. Let's say even one more tamei than tar. We can say that isn't exactly half and half, because the big machlek is what happens when you do half and half. Do we say the half that a tamei bring it straight away and separately the half a tar, or not? Or do we say half a tamei have to wait till Pesach Sheni? So let's say half doesn't mean exactly half, but almost half. But nashim, the women generally were tar. Mashlimas the women would be included, would be majority tar, and therefore the men would have to wait till Pesach Sheni. If you don't include the women, that the men are majority of tamei, you'd bring it then and there. First, he thought the women were a chayiv, which by the way is the halacha, the having miyut and tamei. So then the majority of the people would be tar, minority tamei, or miyut and mitla sheni. And therefore you have to postpone them until Pesach Sheni. All of the safe at the end, so nashim b'rishon shus. And then you thought women are shus. So then, if the women are shus, you don't count the women. The majority of men were tamei. The majority don't get pushed to Pesach Sheni. Good for the analyze it. You don't make an ibu on the third day, but with all the kindness, and since it's suitable to be nis. What happened to Poil on the 30th day? You decided to make a nis, and what happens? Omar Ula says a mekachin of don't mention the word, don't say the word Mekudesh, because you're not allowed to say Mekudesh once it's the 30th day of the month. And but it will be treated as other sheni, and when it comes to the next month, you'll declare Chodesh Nisan. Kitchemai, what happened? You did say it's Kodesh, which you shouldn't have. In that case, Batal Ibur, then it's no longer other, it becomes this. If you did it, you did it. It's other sheni and becomes other sheni, and then the following months will be this. I don't understand what kind of problems will the result. You have 30 days. Or and from Purim onwards, Dashin and Behilchas of Pesach, we start darshaning the laws of Pesach. Tanya, Shoylin, Behilchas of Pesach. We ask already the question of Pesach. Third day, there's Baga Mishtation about 2 weeks. So they're talking already about Pesach, and then you declare, this is the thing you guys are making they'll just say it's other sheni, you're making a mistake, because they already learned the laws of the Pesach. They'll treat the other sheni as if it's Pesach, and the following month, which really is Nisan, they'll treat it like it's an ear, and they won't keep Pesach. They will ignore it, and it comes ear, they'll think it's ear, but really it's Pesach, and they'll eat chametz. People know the shasam abarta b'chush. They know that has to do with calculations, the weather, and so many other factors. They will say when they're told that this month actually is other sheni. Now listen, they didn't really realize it till now, and they'll accept it, and they will accept it. So therefore, it's not a problem. Obviously, if the Gemara's question could have asked you a better question. Then after Purim, you should no longer be able to clear it's chodesh other sheni, because people think it's Pesach. What is interesting, in some Gemaras it says Shoylin, you ask, and some Gemaras it says Shoylin B'doshim, which is a big difference. Shoylin means if somebody asks a question, you have to answer. It's considered an appropriate question. Not like other times you say, look, I'm busy, I don't have to answer you. Shoylin B'doshim means the rabbis out there in the front foot are already giving all kinds of drushes. And because in Gemara Megillah we had that on the Shabbos of Yom Tov, that's when Moshe Rabbeinu made Takana, you should talk Hilchos Achad B'chad. So there's a different opinions as to the Bes Yosef, and others talk about it. What exactly do we have to do 4 weeks prior to Pesach? Have a good day. We'll continue tomorrow. Mitzvah Hashem.